Okay, finally, here we are. How you doing, baby?
I'm good.
Good. What are we talking about?
We're talking about the new year.
Okay, let's talk.
I guess here we are at January, 3rd?
January the 3rd.
Yes. So
Yeah.
we're still brand new in 2025. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Had to write a check today.
Yeah.
It said 2025.
I've got my Mac, and I wanted to read something before we get going, then I can dump this Mac off.
Okay.
But it's really, really cool. So we have been getting listeners from not only the United States, but from Finland, from Norway, from the UK, and from India. Isn't that cool?
That's crazy. I wonder just how it spreads like that.
Yeah. So
That's
I was
awesome.
going to go to my statistics here. It's really cool. So shout out to Norway. The geolocation here. We have 9 listeners from Norway. And if
That's
you click
so
on Norway,
cool.
Oslo County, and so we've got 7 from Oslo and 2 from other. So I'm seeing a long haul marriage retreat or workshop.
Yes.
in
Invite
our
us to
future in
come.
Oslo. Wouldn't that be so cool?
Yes. So if
then-
you're listening from
Yeah,
where?
well, you are. They are listening.
Norway, Finland,
yeah.
any of those cool. UK, invite us. We'll come do a workshop.
Yeah, so India,
retreat.
let's see, Punjab too. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. We've been to Mumbai, which was amazing. And then let me go back here. Man, I have to go see more in the geolocation every time. And let's see, Finland. I cannot pronounce that. 2 U's, S-I-M, and 2 A's. Usama? Usama?
Someone
Oh,
out-
Helsinki. Yes.
Someone
Helsinki,
in
Finland.
Usama is laughing right now.
Usama.
At you.
Usama.
Oh, you something else.
Yeah, there we go. That was it. And then, let's see, from the UK, I seem to remember England, Sale. Where? I saw Scotland in Glasgow on here somewhere.
Very cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
So,
I love it.
Thank you guys for listening and for tuning in. Man, we're really excited, and we'd love to see you sometime.
One thing I remember is when we went to India and did that marriage conference, or when we went to Costa Rica and did a marriage conference. It doesn't matter what language. It was very interesting to find out that no matter the country, no matter the language, marriage is marriage, and people have
It all translates.
issues and struggles and just need to talk through some stuff and have some, wisdom and tools and resources. I think that's really cool.
Men are men and women are women and people are people. So it all translated. I remember Dwayne Weehunt when I pulled the old, stand-up comedian thing. He goes, "Man, you could do this for a living." I go, "I do it for a living." It was fun.
Oh,
that was
that's
great.
great.
So we're excited that so many people are tuning into this podcast and from all over. That's really humbling.
Yeah.
We also want to say, or I just want to tell the people that have been listening and supporting us, just continue to listen, share it, but also thank you to all of our donors who have made this whole thing possible. Just a huge shout out. If you're listening and you've been supporting us, we know you've been supporting us in prayer. We feel every single one of those. And some of you have been supporting us with words and words of affirmation and sending us the cards and the emails and all that. But some of you guys have supported us financially as well in a huge way. And so we just thank you guys so much.
Yeah, it is overwhelming.
Yeah.
One thing that we have, I think, enjoyed doing is sitting down to write thank you notes to people. And I would say it does more good probably for the writer of the note than it does even the receiver. I think handwritten notes that's kind of a pastime. Not many people probably do it, but I notice whenever I sit down and put pen to paper to say thank you, something changes in me, and it just makes my heart more grateful.
Cool.
And just more aware of man, this is really, really cool. And this is people's, this is their belief in us and what we're doing, in the marriage ministry that we're able to offer because of that. So we just don't take it lightly. It means a lot to us.
Yeah. I appreciate you doing that too.
Yeah.
Because it does mean a lot. I think the handwritten note versus just an email or a text or what have you. But thank you for doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's been cool to hear not just the response and some of the comments from some of the posts and the podcasts and all that, but even in some of the sessions, just things that people are taking away from our podcast. And I'm just mentioning this because of our 6-part series. We really, really hope that blessed everyone, because it was just us, man. We wanted to start with that because even though we recorded it 2 years ago, like we keep mentioning, we just felt like it gave you a good idea of just what we've been through, all the, the good, bad, and the ugly, and how we think, how we roll. And we are just so thankful that you guys are coming along for the journey, and we want to help you guys. One comment was made, hey, will you guys see somebody who's not married?
Yes.
Absolutely. Somebody just reached out and said, hey, we kind of did some things in the wrong order, and we just didn't know if you guys would meet with a couple like us. And I said, you're exactly the kind of couple that we want to meet with. So, we'll see you as an individual, as a couple. Man, if you need anything, just let us know, because we love it.
Yeah. I have thought it was cool too that when the parents, we've heard from, several parents who are like, hey, any chance that y'all could talk to my teen, and so from, I don't know, 17 to 107, it's cool to have that opportunity to talk to any age, any person, any stage or season of life.
Yeah. And some people say, aren't you guys Christian? And what if we don't believe? Or will you meet with us? Absolutely. One of my favorite things, you talked about the teens. These late teens, young 20s, so many of them have struggled with their faith. They've lost faith, or they don't know what to believe. I mean, good night. God bless them. How could they, being raised on social media and with all the stuff out there? It's really, really hard to know what to think, what to believe. And I just love having a space created where we can have those questions, have those doubts. And man, one of my favorite things to do, and I'm thinking about the conversation I had last week with a young man who I walked away just thinking, I think he just heard some things about the Bible, about Jesus, about faith, about God, about church, put in a way that maybe he's never heard before. Yeah. And I love that. That just so excites me and energizes me because, I know what I went through as we talked about it. I needed a new framework on which to reconstruct a brand new faith. And that is going now just so well and going strong. And so I know what I was thinking, raised in the Bible Belt South, and went through some of that deconstruction stuff, blah, blah, blah. I hate the buzzword that came along. It's just being honest, honestly. It's being honest with the things that we doubt or question and having a space for that. And so somebody like, with the white beard and somebody my age who can come along and say, it's the pursuit of truth about God is the most worthy pursuit there is. Yeah. And be passionate about that. And to be able to bring scripture alive instead of just, calling it archaic or just ignorant or what have you. To be able to look at it in a whole new light. I love that. So, yeah.
One thing I have loved just working from home and, doing a lot of appointments, me by myself or you by yourself or us together with a couple or whatever, is whenever you're in here doing what you do best, and I'm out in my, makeshift office at the dining room table or whatever, just watching you come out, between appointments and just seeing like the life that it gives you. You don't ever like come out and you're just beat up as hard as the appointment might have been. I think you're doing exactly what you were created to do.
I love it. Yeah. And you too. What I've loved is getting on those Zoom calls and doing a lot more with you. Before I was doing it myself a lot. And now having you as that partner, gosh, it's the dream team, baby. I love it.
It's fun.
Yeah. People ask me, am I as, passionate about it as I used to be, or how could you not feel beat up or just be beat down, or how do you listen to people's problems? I love it because, again, I know what it felt like to feel hopeless and to feel like, man, we're just done. And this marriage thing, does it even work? Did God truly ordain it? And when you have found out some secrets, right? When you've figured out some things just from basically, hey, learning the hard way, doing stuff the wrong way, but also talking to so many people and hearing what they're doing and seeing, oh my gosh, we're all the same, right? We're human. And so normalizing it, but then figuring out a way through and helping people with that. I told somebody the other day, I said, these things that I'm sharing with you, I mean, we could all get on, we could Google, we could read the books, we could, get all the PDFs and download them. And I mean, we have tons of marriage resources at our fingertips. But I told them, everything I'm telling you, I've personally experienced.
Yes.
So the things I share are the things that have worked for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the series we did, but I just want to impress on people. If you see our social media posts or you see our little, when we're talking about date night, they're fun or they're so cute, man, we're human. And so the thing that I know, we were talking about this the other day, our kids, they've heard about what we've done with couples, and they have some stories. They hear people telling them stories, and they have some testimonies that they've read or what have you. But 17,000 hours with 3,500 couples, that's a huge part of my life that no one's ever seen. Like you haven't seen it, all these other couples out there haven't seen it. It's just the three of us, if you will.
Yes.
When we're sitting there in that space, in that moment, and it's holy moments and it's sacred ground. I always say this is holy ground. I want to take off my shoes when I am meeting with couples because it's just such a privilege to be invited into some of the most intimate places. But I want people to hear that the things that we're talking about, it's not fun and it's not pretty, but a lot of times our marriage is not fun and it's not pretty. Just getting ready to do this podcast, getting things set up, man, it's hard and we don't see things the same and we don't, always communicate obviously the same. We don't see things eye to eye and it's hard, but I want to take the stigma away from like anyone who thinks, oh, they couldn't relate to us. That's just what I think continue to want to totally huge exclamation point.
Yes. And you were just saying, you were on a phone call earlier and I don't know what it was about, but I heard you say, man, I hate it that people feel ashamed. I don't want people to feel ashamed. So whatever was happening there, and it made me start thinking about that. I think a lot of people do reach out for help. But there are a lot of people who are just like, I want to, but if they knew this about me, or what if they, know the truth about me, man, every single time we hear the truth, it just, that respect level and that love and that closeness that we feel with that other person, it just, multiplies.
Yeah.
Like there's no shame here.
Yeah.
If you listen to that whole marriage series and think that we have one shame bone in our body, shame on you. Yeah. Okay. Not really, but
it's, and working with the young couples doing the premarital stuff. When I basically, hey, tell me about your dad, right? Tell me about your mom. Tell me about your family of origin. How was it growing up? Tell me about previous relationship baggage. And all of them, tread lightly into that, part of the session. But it's like once they hear, it's like, oh yeah, you too. Oh, you were abused in that way, verbally, physically. Oh, you had that betrayal wound. Oh, you were cheated on. Oh, your dad left your family as well. Your mom and dad divorced when you were 2. Oh, you never knew your father. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And once they hear that they're not the only one, that I've heard that literally thousands of times, and we normalize that. Again, I think thank you for bringing that up. It's no shame. There's no shame. And in the environment of no shame is when people are going to truly open up. They'll be confessional. They'll be vulnerable. And we know that most of the problems people encounter in marriage, it's their family of origin stuff. It's the stuff, it's the unhealed wounds from the past. Yeah. Maybe it is a previous marriage. Maybe it is, the ex. Maybe it's the previous relationship. But many times it goes to those scripts that we started, the narration we do, or the narrative. We speak over ourselves because of the wounding from, what was spoken over us.
Yeah. And I think there's such power in what we get to do. It's such an honor with people, because what we get to do is sometimes be the very first person. I know that's happened with you a lot. You are the first person they've ever told XYZ, So there's such power in just like, there's nothing like magic that we do when we talk to people, but magic happens.
Yeah.
Because just sitting down, creating a safe space for people to share maybe something that they've never said, and think about how that has haunted them for so long, and just them, getting to open up and have a safe space to share. And we're not shocked. Our mouths don't drop when we hear something, we, like you said, normalize it, love them, accept them, validate their pain, and just hear them out. And I think that helps it to lose its power over
and
them.
It's funny because, we've captured that testimony on that 6-part series. But as you said, don't think there's any shame left in us. I mean, like literally whatever we've ever done in this marriage, whatever has been spoken, in an angry moment, all the doors that have been slammed, the expletives, the immature, immature baby stuff that people do when they're in the privacy of their own homes, and when they're upset. We will tell you guys that. We'll share that because we want you to know you're not alone. Yeah. And we just want to help you through it.
So I know, we've talked about how much fun we're having, that we love what we get to do. And we do. We feel so honored, to be able to do this. And we're excited about the new year. But I think we're both like really mindful that this isn't like we say, Happy New Year. It's probably not a super happy new year for a lot of people. If we said fill in the blank, what new year, some people may feel like it's the same old new year, or it's a sucky new year. There's not one thing to look forward to, or my life is not at all what I thought it was going to be. So I thought you could just kind of talk about, like, who are you talking to? What are you hearing that might not feel so much like a happy new year, before we get into some things that we do to help us? What are some things you're hearing?
I mean, I think most people in, counseling, coaching, therapy world, they know that the holiday is a huge times is a huge trigger for people. And so, it's just not a fun time for a lot of people. And I think you spoke about that, or spoke to that, in one of the social media posts you made, which you're so great at. So there's that. It's not just the logistics, the young couple who's trying to figure out we're spread too thin and we got to buy for everybody, and whose house are we going to? It's not that. It's the missing the child that died around the holidays. It's missing the mom who passed away. So the couple who it's the first Christmas without their father, who had just recently passed away. It's just a tough time when
or your family has blown up. I know you've talked to some men who are just like, this is a horrible time for them. Their family's blown up. They never thought they would find themselves in.
A lot of people are alone. So the people I've been talking to, they I always say ICU doesn't rest, doesn't close for the holidays. Neither do marriage issues or relationship issues, family issues. They're exacerbated. Like it brings out all of those issues, and people are they're sad, they're broken. And so, man, we saw a ton of people reaching out between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then right after New Year, man, I literally woke up on the 2nd and like 5 new people coming in. They're just saying, hey, this didn't get any better. We went through Christmas. Yeah, we have New Year. Woo, party. Boom, the ball dropped and we did pop the streamers. And guess what? I still don't like you. I still feel like I'm done. Yeah. And so that's where people are living. So it's real hard. And so what I wanted to say before, and I totally went blank, but I also want to say, now that we're doing this video podcast, I think that it's an easier format for people to watch, and then on YouTube, and then make comments. Sometimes people just don't make comments on audio podcasts for whatever reason, even though you can do that. But I would love to hear, not just from Glasgow and from Helsinki,
Yeah.
I would love to hear from everyone. What are some things that you want us to discuss? Because it's not just our story and the good, bad, and the ugly and our early days and Corbin. Those were kind of some categories, these big milestone moments that we talked about in our life. And we talked about a lot, right? But there are things that I know every day people are struggling with. You know, it's, intimacy, sex, finances, kids, and parenting. We want to talk about all that stuff, but we want to hear from you. Like, what specifically do you guys want to talk about? And you'll hear me, go over and over once we start getting into those issues. You'll hear me drive back to not the issue itself, but what's underlying the issue. Because many, many times it's that core, it's the root. It's getting to that. It's going to help you guys find some help. I tell people this all the time. Something happened in year 17 that truly changed. We were doing the up and down, and I may have said this on the other podcast, but in year 17 out of our now 35 years, so halfway in, I know it took me a long time to figure some stuff out.
Me too.
But that's when I started doing full-time couple work, because we were, planting churches and leading worship and doing all that. But when I started meeting every day, that's what changed everything, because I started sitting down with couples, hearing the things that I felt like we were the only ones, or we should be better, or we'd be, that's shameful to talk about that. And I started seeing we're all the same. We're all doing this stuff. And that just took some pressure off. I started giving grace to myself. Like, man, we're human.
Yeah.
And we can be better. We can do some things better. We need to grow up and become more mature and conscious at a whole new level. But that helped me. So it was cathartic for me seeing how normal that stuff was. I remember coming home to you going, babe, like maybe you were expecting more, which you needed to expect more. And I wanted for us to be more. But I just remember, babe, this is the way it is. Just kind of feeling
freed up because you're, solidarity.
Not judging ourselves. Yes.
And I do remember during that season, you like coming home. I was making dinner or whatever, and you'd come home and just come hug me and say, "Man, I was convicted about this today. I'm really sorry. I don't want to do this anymore." And it was like I got a better husband because you were helping people, hearing other people's stories, and it like convicted you like, man, do that? I don't want to do that. I'm sorry if I have, So it makes me think like, not everybody's going to want to be in the profession that we're in. Not everybody's going to, be doing a marriage.
Of sitting with other people and getting that perspective.
Right. But I do think that everybody can be helping somebody, and I think there is something to that when you help someone else, it does make you grateful for what you have, convict you about like, man, do I do that? Because I don't want to do that. It like opens your eyes, It
takes the focus off your own pain or yourself or your relationship. It illuminates it. It gives you insight in a different perspective, in a different way about your own thing. That's literally why I brought it up. It's something changed. And what was it? Well, I was meeting with couples all the time going, wow, I do that too. So literally seeing the pain on a woman's face because of what the husband was doing. I remember literally kind of staring a hole through him sometimes going, because I was playing what she's describing is what I do to Jamie. And I wanted to come home and say, talk to Jamie, repent, say, I'm sorry. But so what is it? Like you said, not everyone's going to go into the coaching or the counseling or the marriage guru, whatever profession. But the reason why that made such an impact is because it was the accountability of the engaging about those issues. So for me, it was talking with people about them. So it's get the marriage book, read the marriage book, right? Check in with your spouse. How are we doing? Get a report card. But it's doing something to put it in the forefront of your mind, to be very mindful about it. That's why I love, prayer and meditation, silence in the morning, because you're thinking about stuff early that you can then take throughout your day. Well, if I'm talking to a couple every day about marriage, I'm going to come home and be thinking about marriage. So again, whether it's a podcast you're listening to, a book you're reading, some kind of conference that you dip in and out of, one's coming up in February, my long haul marriage. But it's keeping that stuff in front of you. Because what you think about that will start to manifest in your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
New year.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing about, I just kind of wanted to,
you're
you to
welcome.
talk a little bit about,
Sorry.
about what you're hearing from the people that you're talking to about why it's not such a happy new year for everybody, you know? And I can say there have been times for us where New Year feels just kind of like womp womp, you know. It's been, you know, it scratches the scab off of things for us, you know. Corbin's birthday is this month, you know? So sometimes like my, you know, body tells me like, okay, this is, you know, a time that we used to celebrate a kid that's no longer here, you know? So I'm not saying that every, you know, New Year is just happy for us, but I do feel like that we have learned kind of along the way some things to do to help keep us in a good, healthy place, as healthy as possible, you know? So I thought we might share a couple of those, you know, tips or things that we do to kind of help us stay in a good.
Did we share before about the vision meeting? I think we were sharing that with a couple. We were.
Yeah.
We were doing that with a premarital couple, I think. So share about that, just the vision meeting and the difference that has made.
Okay. So it's coming up in a couple of weeks. Or actually,
no. Sorry. Okay. We'll talk about the vision retreat in just a second. Where we're going. We're going to do an overnighter, baby. Waco, Magnolia,
Okay, so you're talking
Airbnb.
About our Sundays.
Our Sundays.
Okay.
Our vision meetings every single week.
Sorry. Okay.
No.
So, we, you know, when we started Long Haul and could kind of structure our week, you know, the way that we, you know, however we wanted to, you know, one of the things I think that we kind of settled on was we needed a time where we could meet, we could have a company meeting and where we could just kind of sit down, and it's not really that, but it's, you know, where we go outside when it's pretty, sit in those egg chairs, and I have my little notebook. And sometimes I take notes, and sometimes I'm so blown away that I don't write one single word down. But, you know, it's just a time to check in with each other and just say, hey, how are you feeling this week? We kind of do happy crappy, is, you know, what we call it. And so what's been going great this week for you? What's not been going so great. And there have been some hard conversations come from that, you know, like, this isn't working. This is hard. This is not fun. We got to work on some things. We got to change some things. And it's where we really get gut level honest with each other and both have an opportunity to share, like, you know, put your phone down. This isn't a time where we're like working on stuff. It's actually like discussing how we're doing.
Yeah.
And then many times
personal, business, and then home. Yeah, which
so
I like. Which
I have
personal is home, but
a little chart, and I say, Brian, like happy crappy, like, and you know, what are some things that are working? What are some things that are not working? Some things that you want to change, and then personally, what are some things that you want to focus on this week? And with our home, what are some things that we need to tackle? What are some things that we want to do? And then with long haul marriage, what are some of the things that we're each working on or working on together?
It's so. Yeah, so I'm thinking about people go, must be nice, you know, like I said last night on the date night. There's so many things that people say, well, yeah, it must be nice. You're empty nesters. Or, you know, dude, we got all these kids running around, or we're not doing business together. We got to both run out the door to go to work. Okay, so it's making specific time that's very intentional. And it doesn't have to be, I tell couples this all the time. If I just say, hey, babe, let's go out and we're going to have a check-in. And how are you doing? Just personally, forget the business and the home part. Just if I said, hey, let's go sit in the egg chairs. We go out on the back porch, we sit in those egg chairs and look at the sunset. And literally 10 minutes. Like if we just do that for 10 minutes, for 5 minutes, I focus on, hey, how are you doing, babe? And you share, and then you share, you know, you ask me, and 5 minutes apiece, 10 minutes makes a huge difference. You feel seen, you feel heard. So many times people hear this stuff, they think, really, is it this sounds too formal, or that's not spontaneous, or it's too planned. I'm telling you, when you're intentional about stuff, that's when stuff gets done, right? If you're not intentional, it's just not going to happen. Now, we will go in there and sit there and get on our phones, start scrolling and scroll Netflix and, with the best of them.
Right.
But we have, I think I said it can't remember where I said it, but you don't have to be that disciplined. You just have to be disciplined long enough to start a good habit. We have started a very good habit in doing that. Yeah.
One thing I've enjoyed that you've kind of, that you'll add in, but during those vision meetings, you'll say, hey, I have something I want to read. And it might be a scripture, it might be a quote that you read, or it might be a song that you pull up on Spotify and play for me. Sometimes it might be a worship song. Sometimes it might be some other kind of song, but something that will help lead us in a good direction, kind of focus our thoughts, because that may have been the first time, in a couple of days where we've really sat down together to take a deep breath and just to check in. Yeah. I love those times.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Hey, I've enjoyed them too. I love it. One thing too, and this is just me, seem like it's just bouncing all over the place. This is not necessarily about New Year. Let's come back and talk about New Year.
Okay.
There's, that whole resolution and quit day is the second week in February or something. I don't know. So there's ways to avoid that. But we'll come back. One of the things I just wanted to share in just this kind of the transparent vein is when you get older and you've been doing this for 35 years, it's easy to think I know them. It's just an old hat, It's just like, man, there's the comfort part of it and the companion, but there's also, you sometimes lose the curiosity. You think you know them.
Yeah.
And you think you know exactly how they're going to react in a certain situation, which is totally never being present, because if you're present in the moment, the past is gone.
Yeah.
And you should be excited and curious about who is going to show up in this new season, right?
Yeah.
But when you're our age, it's easy also to just put it on autopilot. But then, man, when you have the perspective, a lot of people our age, so anybody out there listening that's been married like we have, and you ain't getting any younger, right? You start to see a lot of your friends are dying. I hate to be so heavy, but they're getting diagnoses, and you never know how much time you've got. And I'm just telling you, so many times recently, I mean, no matter how much, I know I'm different and I can bug you and get on your nerves and my freaking ADD and whatever it's called. You could be bugging me or annoy me or whatever. But like the other day, we were literally trying to set up the shot for the camera, and I got up and I was frustrated. You were frustrated. You're trying to hold it together and I'm trying to hold it together. And it wasn't about each other, but I got up and I looked at the camera and I saw the look in your face in the camera, and I saw it was just the look on your face, like you weren't having fun, and it was hard because I saw you, and hey,
I need tissues on the set.
But I saw that look in your face, like, oh no, is he going to blow up? Is he going to be this angry butthole for the rest of the night? Is he going to hold it together? Like, what have I gotten myself into? It literally, I was getting up. And so it was like behind my back, quote unquote, but I saw that look in your face and I saw it on the camera. And hear me, I know guys see this, women see this. And you may just roll your eyes and think, gosh, man, for any man out there, when you catch yourself hurting your spouse, you immediately go clean that up. So that's one thing that I'm just telling you. I wish, and for the young, we're talking to the old couples that you don't know how much time you've got left. You don't want to die being this butthole. Can I say butthole on our podcast?
Sure.
But
you've said way worse.
So no, but for the young couples, get this right now.
Yeah.
Like, don't let grass grow before you go clean up your mess. Go say you're sorry, man. And so I remember, it hit me. You had no idea that I saw what I saw. And I didn't
even know I had a certain look, but I know what I was feeling in the moment.
There you go.
Well, you're a perfectionist and it wasn't perfect. And, so
I just came, and I'm just, so when I came in to tell you, I'm sorry, because I don't want this to be a whipping. I want it to be fun. I want it to be exciting.
I really, really appreciated that.
And it was such a release because you got to cry. You were probably holding it in. But I just wanted to bring that up because, maybe totally out of nowhere, but that kind of crap right there, you could do that for years and never go back. Like you felt justified in the moment. Never go back and say, hey, man, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You don't want to hurt your spouse because those little things that you buried that you just thought, oh, well, and you don't even know if you had that look on your face, but you know what you were feeling.
Yeah.
Just and look, you're mature. You're such a freaking spiritual giant. You're not going to die on you're not going to make a big deal about everything. You're not going to come in, hey, Brian. But you know what? When you swallow that and you swallow it and swallow it, something comes between you. Something hurts your intimacy.
One more brick.
And people wonder, yeah. And they wonder why they're not having sex or why my wife doesn't, want to sit by me on the couch when we're watching movies or whatever. So, just a random thought there. If you catch yourself doing something to hurt your spouse, go clean it up as soon as you can. Yeah,
that's good.
I know that was totally not.
No, but that was good. Good.
Okay, so New Year's.
Yeah. So New Year, new you. Here we go.
Resolution time.
So we're hopefully everybody knows that listens. We're pretty much just like everybody else, but we have learned some things along the way. We've employed some things. We put some more tools in our tool belts. It's like we find things. We try things, we're open to new things that will help us stay in the healthiest, mental, spiritual, physical health that we possibly can. And so, we've talked about the cold plunge, I'm sure we'll talk about that more later, but, we do some kind of crazy things.
And you know what, but before you get into that, because I know people can literally start turning stuff off like, nope.
Yeah.
And I want you to come back. I think I know the story you're about to tell. But whether it's this hardcore, I'm going to do a reset, diet. I'm going to do a detox. I'm going to fast. I'm going to do cold plunge. I'm going to start doing Wim Hof breathing. I'm going to ground. Whatever it is. So the wisdom proverbs, and there's a lot of them, right? We hear it in the context of what we've read in the Bible, and many people erroneously think Jesus was talking about heaven and hell about when he made some of these statements. But when the Bible says, narrow is the way that leads to life, and few find it, broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many will enter it. Look, we have other words for it. The high road. The road less traveled. It's hard to do things that are going to make a difference in your life. We all know what they are. Many, many people will never do them. And narrow is the way that leads to life, and few will find it. And I was talking to somebody, a young man. I point over there because that's where the Zoom happens. I said, if you will do these things, and again, you may think, well, gosh, I don't have the willpower. And join the club, right? Or I don't see any results right away. And so with the compounding effect, results are invisible. You have to let them stack up over time. But so many people will not do the hard work. And for years, we just kept thinking, hey, thank God for grace, and he's going to forgive us, and we're Christians, and we're going to heaven, blah, 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 blah. But we didn't do the hard stuff to make the change. And, when you hear us talk about things, if you schedule with me and you schedule with us, you're going to hear us challenge you to do some things. And it's not this hard line, accountable coach kind of situation. It's just a gentle offer to say, hey, do you want to change? When the student's ready, the teacher appears. When Jesus asked the man, hey, do you want to get well? Right? It's not about making excuses, and it's not about saying that's too hard. It's doing the hard things so you can develop resilience in a certain area, and you can actually see change.
Right.
And so one of the things we have done at this age, we're doing some hardcore stuff that I thought, I know I should do that, but I never did, right? And so now we are doing the things. And I know you want to talk about some of them.
One of the things that, that we've started doing I don't remember how many years we've done it, but, and a lot of people talk about it, but, choosing an intent, like a word or a focus or an intention for the year. And I just love that. I know you could do it, in March or in, September if you wanted to. You can change whenever you want to. You can focus or have an intention whenever you want to. But I think it's just, there's something about the timing of the beginning of a new year, and everybody is kind of talking about it. It just kind of is a good time to kind of get in the flow of that. So, choosing a word that you want to define your year. Yeah. So it's a focus, it's an intention, it's the way that you want your, maybe something that you want to build in your character that you want or need more of. But it's something that a word that you're going to kind of cling to and anchor back to, when it gets to be, the end of February or sometime in April and you're like, what was my word? So a couple of things that we do to really hone in on that, that I've loved is we've kind of gotten our kids into it. And, one of our kids even got her word tattooed on her arm. Remember that? Chandler got agape, tattooed on her arm that year.
Yeah.
But just having them choose, a word that's, going to be their focus for the year. And then we plan a one word dinner. So our one word dinner is coming up this Sunday. I'm so excited.
So we celebrate it. We make a ceremony out of it.
Yes.
We make a big deal about it.
Yeah. Do you remember what we did last year for our one word dinner?
Oh, man.
You don't remember?
Was it that
We went chicken and pickle.
Supply?
Chicken and pickle
was last year.
We played pickleball. We ate, and so basically we sit around and we share our words. So that was chicken and pickle.
Yeah.
This Sunday, it's going to be at our house. I'm making soup. The kids are all going to come over. They're going to have their one word, and we're going to have a time where we reflect on this past year and what were our words from this past year. And I have my little notebook and I take notes.
You write them down.
And I write them down.
Like we talked about before in seeing couples, and that's right in front of you, you have to set those intentions. You have to speak those out. It's those, mantras, the visualization, words of affirmation, speaking those out loud. If people say, well, is that just wishful thinking? Yes. Exactly. It's wishful thinking. It's better than stinking thinking.
Yeah.
It's like, I want this to happen. And, you hear people talk about all the time. I mean, right now, by the way, shout out to the Telepathy Tapes podcast. I know you think that's out of left field, but so many people are talking about a higher level of consciousness and how do we, can we manifest things in our lives if we can just get our minds right and agree with the universe and what the universe wants to give us because it's abundant. This is God, right? And everybody has different names for it. But when God wants to give you, he wants to place desires in your heart. He gives you the desires of your heart. And then he obviously wants to equip you and see those come to fruition. It's you aligning with that. It's you agreeing with that and agreeing with it out loud, agreeing with that in writing. Those things will be, you are co-creating. You're creating, God has put this in you. So the divine human is going to be creating these things. So when people think that's all woo-woo, it's literally so biblical. When you go back and start reading, when Jesus is saying greater things you will do, he's not just, this is not hyperbole, right? He means that. And so making a big deal, writing it down, speaking it out, and having it, wishful thinking.
I love that.
And when
good.
something is too, like, I'm going to be a millionaire, immediately you probably push back against that because you're maybe deep inside you don't agree with that. That's gotten you way too far out of where you are. So there's resistance, right? So back off a little bit and say, you know what? I want to improve my financial situation. And you can probably agree with that, right? And so there's abundance. And God, I don't want to have a scarcity mindset. God wants me to have abundance.
Yes.
And I don't just mean in finances. Right. I mean, in your business, with your relationships.
In your health.
In your health, yes. So I love the fact that we ceremonially make a
ceremoniously.
Ceremoniously.
I don't know.
Yes, I think you just nailed it. So we make a big deal about that.
Yeah. So this Sunday is one word dinner. all the kids are coming over. It'll be hectic and chaotic and like a circus, but we'll do our best to say, this is our one more day. And the kids look forward to it.
Yeah.
You know, they ask about it. When are we doing our one more dinner? And so, you know, sometimes we go out, but sometimes we stay in, and it's nothing that has to cost a lot of money. You know, it's just a time where we all share, and then we'll probably pray together, you know, over this new year as a family. And so I love that that's something that we are now passing down to our kids. I was looking last year, Rue's word was patience.
Yeah.
So she's about to be 4, and she already had her one word for last year.
And
so
boy,
that was cool.
I remember that. She's embodying that.
Yes, she is.
Unlike her daddy. That was so
Wow.
funny. He was texting Jamie and said, "What was our word?" And I knew he wanted to know. She was thinking he was going to guess, but anyway, it was like impatience was his.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's cool.
So one word, and something that I do to remember my word, because there have been, so leading up to it, I would say probably the last, 3 weeks of December, I'm already kind of thinking like, I'm going to need to have my word, and so I really start thinking and praying, and in my quiet time in the morning, just kind of thinking like, what's my word, and a lot of times some word will just kind of come back and just keep, rolling around in my head, And so what I usually do is about the first or second week it'll be the second week of January, is I pull out all our crafting stuff and make a vision board. And I usually do it with people. I used to lead a group member called 20 somethings, and we would all do it together. Well, I've already had someone reach out to me and say, hey, when are we going to get together to make vision boards? And so shout out to Cheyenne, who asked me, and we probably will have a girls' night and have whoever wants to come over.
Yeah.
So probably the people from Finland won't come to do that, but they can do it virtually. But anyway,
Helsinki Vision Night.
Put it on a vision board so that every single day you can look at it. And I can see my word last year was simplicity. Yeah. And I have reasons to me why that was important, what that meant to me. And I have pictures that kind of all drew me back to that word. Yeah. So I won't forget it because I look at it every single day.
And I appreciate you doing that. And you are very good at that. You're disciplined. You love that. A lot of people that I'm talking to right now, they hate this stuff. It literally, just even talking about it, it brings up, they don't like the word accountability, like goals, because they feel like I always set them and I fail.
Right.
And so it's just it's a negative kind of black space in their mind thinking, this is not fun. It's like I always set it and I fail. Again, there's a reason why it's called Quit Day, whatever, that Apple Watch commercials talking about it.
Yeah.
And so what would you say to the people who are afraid to even, they feel maybe ashamed or embarrassed because they've never, ever stuck to their goals? Their New Year's resolution was down the drain in 2 weeks. What would you say to those people? Just to give themselves some grace, to maybe change maybe they have a limiting belief because of what's happened in the past. What would you say to those people?
I'll tell you, I've learned probably over the last several years a lot about that. Instead of saying resolutions, I like to say intentions, or I heard somewhere this year call it New Year's practices.
There you go.
Because, when you practice something, it's okay to start over. Like, I'm practicing, that's whenever I do yoga, I kind of suck at yoga, but I love that anytime any yoga instructor I've ever had, they all are pretty much just the same, just open-handed, open-hearted, kind, graceful, generous. Yeah. And they'll say, maybe try this.
It's a suggestion.
Maybe
if you feel
maybe
like
do
it.
this and maybe do this. And, they have you set your intention at the front of the practice. That's what it's called, a practice. And so
if I'm learning a song on the piano, I practice.
Yeah.
And then if I don't get it, I come back and I keep practicing.
Yeah.
That process of coming back, we were talking about this earlier, that's literally training your brain. The more you can, and this is what meditation is, it's the practice of coming back when you start to wander, your mind mind wanders from where you want it to be, whether that's focused on an intention or whether it's just being very, very quiet, trying to hear from the Lord or what have you. It's the process of coming back. And every time you come back, instead of beating yourself up and going, oh crap, I suck, I'm ADD, or I fell asleep. It's like, no, you did good because you brought yourself back.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a book that I'm reading. Shout out to Ghislaine.
A lot of shout outs tonight.
I know, a lot of shout outs. So Ghislaine told me about a book called Try Softer. You know, a lot of times my whole life you just hear try harder, do more, be bigger, go faster, you know.
Yeah.
So try harder. This book is called Try Softer, and it's all about being gentle with yourself. And so I just think there's so much we can learn from that idea. And so instead of New Year's resolutions, what if you just called it New Year's practices or New Year's intentions or whatever that would make you, you know, there is some accountability in it for sure, or why even do it, but there's no shame in it. You know, what you want to do is by the end of the year go, you know what? I was a little bit closer to living a life of simplicity than I was the year before. I don't look at it and go,
it.
You know.
So our call to action this week, because we're going to be doing these weekly, but this week, why don't you set an intention, maybe set a one word for your new year, write it down in a journal, and maybe share it with someone in your life. Share it with us. We would love for you to comment on this episode, your one word. So if you would do that, we would love to see your one word. We would pray for you about that word. And then start practicing. Just set that as practice that word. And we'll see where you are by the end of 2025.
That's good. And we won't get into this. I think we wait until maybe the next podcast to talk more about this, but something that is on our calendar because we were intentional about it. We are doing our vision. This is what I thought you were talking about. Our vision retreat as a couple. So we'll do a one night getaway.
And we will do that and we'll share next time about what came out of that vision meeting.
Yes,
cool.
But just know if you are a married couple, a little vision meeting a night away, or go sit in your backyard and have a little vision meeting. I think it makes a world of difference because of the intention of getting to know each other.
That's good stuff, babe. Better. Thanks for sharing all that. We'll see if this makes the cut or it's on the cutting room floor.
Wow.
We'll figure it out. But,
all right.
All right, baby. Thanks. Love you.
Hey, I love you too.
Okay.